Well, good afternoon, Nick and Lucy, executive producers of Kiff, coming to Disney Channel from Disney Television Animation. I'm Tony from laughingplace.com. How are we doing today?
Hi, Tony. Good, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Hey.
Well, thank you for having me. That's a pleasure's all mine on this end here. Now, let's talk about Kiff, because that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kiff is inspired by your own experiences in Cape Town, South Africa, correct?
Yeah, we're from Cape Town, South Africa, and the world of Kiff very much mirrors the visual, the visuals in Cape Town. Got a big old mountain called Table Mountain. They live on a mountain called Mount Table. It's kind of some similarities there.
Now, I know it's inspired by, but one thing from what I've seen so far, I really enjoyed, but I was like, I know you kind of interjected your own personal stories into it. And I was like, I wonder if there are any that are completely specific. Like I think of there's without getting too spoiler heavy, there's a water slide involved, and the whole point of the episode is to get on that water slide. They seem so specific that either of you might have done the exact scenario, like how can we put this pen and paper on ink?
Well, we definitely have drawn from our teachers, our friends, our families. Some of them are our stories, some stories from friends and our writers, of course.
We have a good time just talking about our own experiences and sharing stories in the writers' room. So there's a lot of shared experiences. We all know the feeling of going on a road trip, with parents, and so there's a lot of overlap. There's another episode where Kiff and Barry are desperate to get nicknames. I very embarrassingly tried to nickname myself once, and it did not go well. So there are definitely moments that are specific that we put in.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that road trip one I also felt was very like somebody's dad was that dad.
Yes.
We've all been that kid, and Nick is that dad. So he's in both positions.
Actually, recently I was on a road trip with my kids, and they even said, "This is just like that Kiff episode. You're just like Kiff's dad."
And one thing I liked about it too, I don't know if this was from the outset or if this just happened naturally, it felt very much like something that belongs in that 90s segment of animation for television, that it appeals to, like, the plot lines are simple enough, and I don't mean that with any disrespect or anything, where it's just like I said earlier, the plot of the episode is just get on that water slide, or plot of the episode survive this road trip with the incidents that occur in that. But there's also humor in there where all the adults are just going to latch on to that's going to go completely over the head of the kids. Is that something that was out for the outset, or was just right in there?
From the outset, we just wanted to make a show that we wanted to watch as much as kids want to watch.
Perfect.
So it was easy to make it so, I guess.
Yeah, when you're laughing a lot, talking about story making, that's going to come through. And, we grew up on those sorts of shows. Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, Simpsons, and
I didn't want to name names, but that's what I went. But that's what I was getting at with the 90s. Kiff very much has that kind of aesthetic, and it also reminded me a lot of sorry, it's a different studio, Rocko's Modern Life, just with the different outlandish characters that they encounter the whole time.
Yeah, it's filled with fun people.
People, I thought they were animals.
No, they're people.
Yeah, they
just
are
like
people.
us.
They might not be human, but they're people.
So which one of you's the DJ at the brunch then?
Oh, brunch.
Probably this guy.
Brunch DJ 11:30.
DJ 11:30. Yeah. that was just throwing this out for the record. That was my favorite of the ones I've seen so far. Was DJ 11:30, the DJ brunch. And the road trip one hit a little close to home too. But yeah, one thing I absolutely loved, I caught on to it in the first one, was the advertisements on the title card. Wibbins ribbons, and then later on they cut the ribbon and it said Wibbin. And then each episode has a different advertisement. I'm like, this is just the greatest little touch, I thought. Because now I'm looking for that the rest of the time. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so one of the most enjoyable parts of building out this world of Tabletown is starting to identify these other characters that are, got their own things going on, their little side hustles, their businesses. And the idea of, having something different up top every time an episode starts, like an episode being brought to you by a certain brand that exists in Tabletown, just deeper, like grounded, the community, the world.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, sometimes it's quite obvious when you see that product, and sometimes you'd have to watch it a second time or really look out, because you'll always see that product or that business somewhere in the episode. Sometimes it comes into play with the plot, and sometimes it's just in the background. So it's always just another fun thing for the viewer to.
And for some
absolutely
reason, cartoon advertisements are so satisfying and funny.
I don't know if that's why I latched onto it, but just as soon as I noticed,
there's a small,
they cut the ribbon and it says women.
There's a business in Tabletown owned by a rat called Rats, Hats and Mats, and that's what he sells. Don't go there for anything else.
Now, I like too that they, like you just said, they're either a part of the plot or just a little background detail, some easier to spot or some. It definitely, I feel like it's a reward if for somebody who's paying attention to the episode.
Exactly.
Yeah. I loved every second of that. And then I'm also catching on to something, and I'm not sure if you guys can explain it now. I keep seeing allusions in some way to the Great Rubber Boom. Is that a plot device, or is that just going to be a recurring thing?
It was, again, part of this world building idea that there are some historical events in this world that have had a very big impact. And that's pretty much where it began.
But maybe don't have that much airtime. This is a little bit of fun, I think, for us and the writers.
I thought it was fun because I think I remember one spot it's mentioned in like a history class. It says, and now the Great Rubber Boom, and then later on it says like the whole thing was faked, or like there's a conspiracy theory going on in like a newspaper article or something like that. But yeah, you guys are doing fantastic with the world building just from the few blips I've seen so far. And I'm excited to see what you guys do with the rest of it. And then the cast is stellar. We have Kimiko Glenn as Kiff. I have James Monroe Iglehart as her dad. I caught on to. Who else are we excited to see coming?
We're so lucky. We have Kiff's best friend Barry is played by H. Michael Corona. He is just a stunning performer.
Barry's older brother that we spoke about earlier, DJ 1130, Josh
Johnson. Shooting to stardom as a comedian, but really everyone we've had in and who are becoming recurring characters, Eric Bowser, Tom Kenny. We're just so lucky to have these incredible actors adding spice to Kiff.
It does add, and one thing that adds spice to Kiff too also is the music right off the intro, which is just that beat and then the just constant yelling Kiff. I'm not doing it justice the way I describe it right now, but it's so catchy, and it carries on into the rest of the series. I immediately think of the song about the drinking fountain, and there's already like just different musical directions going on. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so music plays a big part, and it has also played a big part in my life. You see these instruments here behind me.
Oh, okay.
I played in lots of bands growing up, and now in Kiff, the best part about it is that the marriage between comedy and music, it's always been, they've always just gone together like a hand in a glove.
And we're free, of course, to use any genre and go in any direction for music, and we have so many cool songs coming out.
That's the most fun, is that depending on the episode and the mood, you'll feel, oh, this song feels like it pairs really well like with a big band jazz sound, or maybe more folk, old Johnny Cash folk, or pop punk. So
just a dance banger. We've got them all.
So we've got a lot of freedom there, and very, very one of the most enjoyable parts of the show.
Yeah, it definitely adds a great deal to it as well. Now I feel like you kind of are hitting a little note as it were. Are there any episodes in particular you're ready for fans to see, just to see their reaction to?
Well,
absolutely.
Don't say all of them. That's a cop out. Like if there's one that you personally enjoy.
Yeah. There are so many.
There are some episodes that we're quite excited about coming up down the line.
There is an episode where Kiff feels as though she has peaked in life because they've eaten 2 hot dogs for the price of 1. It's the best moment she's ever experienced. And so follows a very sad, folksy guitar song that is just one of my favorites.
There's also an episode called Friendship in the Time of Cheese Caves. They go on a field trip to the Cheese Caves, and there's a great song in there, which I'm excited for people to hear.
About sending a text that you wish you hadn't sent.
This goes back to what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that definitely skews a little bit more adult than a kid might have, but kids also are all out on their phones too.
Sure
I have a 5-year-old nephew who is just like, what do you want? But yeah, now this premise is kind of, again, simple, but the whole world building and everything, that probably is how you guys landed at Disney TV animation. But how would you say Kiff sticks out from everything else on Disney television animation?
It's its own little thing. I mean, so are all the amazing shows on Disney. Yep. We do feel like we kind of came from a different world. Mm-hmm. We hadn't previously worked at Disney, and so it probably has a particular flavor because of that. But yeah,
I think Kiff, visually, I feel it looks a little different. So that kind of sets it in its own kind of space. But also we are very free, and we don't have too many rules when it comes to story. We just feel like if this story is making us laugh and it's relatable, mm-hmm. We open the doors and we run wild in that field and we let it go anywhere. And I think that's Kiff has a specific kind of free tone that that gives it its own flavor.
And Disney has been amazing to work with in that way. Really motivating for that and letting us feel that freedom. So it's been amazing. Yeah.
You said visually, and it brought up, I love the visuals of it. I don't know if you guys meant to do this, but just I love how it's just almost such simple shapes that become this huge universe, and it's fantastic. And then all the different animals.
When designing the characters in the early stages, the drawing something, having something so simple, Kiff's head is just a circle. Mm-hmm. There's so much real estate there for like expressions. You can go anywhere with it, but right at the root of it, it's very, very simplistic design. Mm-hmm. Something that someone can learn to draw quite easily. And I think that there's an appeal in that approach.
Yeah, it becomes a real blank canvas for expression, which is something then we use to our advantage comedically and with regards to the pathos and all of that.
Yeah, no, I think even though I asked what you guys think, I think it'll stand out quite well. It's bright, it's vivid, and I think it's hugely relatable. From just what I've seen. I look forward to the rest of it.
That we're so excited for the world to see it.
When can I go to your next brunch DJing session?
You're always welcome at our table.
Awesome. Thank you.